Hello, friends. Becky and I spent an afternoon at Carlsbad Caverns. Neither one of us has been here. It's one of those places that no pictures will show it like it really is. You have to be there and experience it. Interesting history here. A young guy in 1898, actually 17 years old, his name is James White. He was working on a ranch here on horseback, rounding up stray cattle. Noticed a bunch of bats flying out of bushes, tied his horse up, walked over to the bushes, and found this huge hole. Later on, he came back with wire and wood, made a long ladder, went down into this cavern with this ladder. He also had a homemade kerosene lamp that he used. He went down 750 feet from the surface to the bottom. He explored quite a bit of it and named several of the caverns. Nowadays, you go down in elevators 750 feet. Up until the 30s, they had switchback stairways all the way down. Very easy now. And of course, it's all lit up inside. My impression was it was like gold plating on everything. Very worthwhile to stop there. Next, we move on to Roswell, New Mexico. Most people know the history there. In 1947, supposed UFO crashed in a farmer's field. Military said it was a weather balloon. A lot of controversy over what it really was, although some of the interviews, if you go on YouTube and watch some of the interviews from either people that experienced it or descendants of witnesses, pretty convincing. Here are some typical clips of an interview that you would find on YouTube.
Well, my grandfather was at the base, and he received a call. It was probably around lunchtime because he was eating lunch. And a Sheriff Wilcox called and said that we have got a rancher in our office right now that found something really strange on his property, and that he thought that maybe it could have been something military. So my grandfather went down to the sheriff's station and spoke to the rancher for a bit and thought that it was important enough for him to go back to the base and talk to his CO, which was Colonel Blanchard. And after talking to Colonel Blanchard, he said, yes, why don't you go on out there and investigate what's out there and take whatever you need with you. If you need somebody to go out with you, take them too, which he did. He took a CIC agent by the name of Sheridan Cavett. And they left probably later in the day because I know that they didn't arrive out to the ranchers. Like, he had a little shack out there, and they spent the night there before they went out to the field to investigate what was on the property. So after they spent the night, the following morning, they went out there, and I'm pretty sure they were pretty astonished to see the magnitude of what was out there. There was just debris that was scattered everywhere. My grandfather thought that it looked like it was something that exploded in the air, and that you could tell the trajectory of where it was coming because it was in a certain flight pattern, and where it exploded, it fanned out about 3/4 of a mile. Wow. So they spent the good part of the day loading up their vehicle, the carryall that the Sheridan Cavett drove out there. And by the time that was filled up, my grandfather sent him, Sheridan, back to the base before he went because he wanted to collect more of the material. So he loaded up his car, and then that's where when he left probably around 11 o'clock or so at night, and was heading back towards the base. And it was almost like tinfoil, but it was extremely, extremely strong, and they described it as being as light as a feather. So after that, they spent about 20 minutes there looking at this. Then they put it all back into the box, and my father walked out with my grandfather to the car, and while they were loading up the box, my dad noticed that there was a whole bunch of the same material in the trunk and in the back seat of the car. Yes, it's what our government said, that it was a weather balloon, and then they changed it to a mogul balloon, which it wasn't, because my grandfather was an intelligence officer who had studied radar technology, so he knew that's not what he found.
For me, it's kind of like Sasquatch. not a lot of real physical evidence, so it's kind of hard to say. But anyway, this whole town of Roswell has embraced this whole story. Of course, they're making money. Lots of little stores selling t-shirts, hats, you name it, just about anything, with little green aliens and flying saucers. A lot of fun. We stayed 2 nights in an RV park in Roswell. Spend most of the day kind of roaming around town and exploring. Then we moved on to Four Corners, the only place in the United States you can stand in 4 states: Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. It's on Navajo land, so they have kind of capitalized on this spot. They have food vendors, kind of a building all the way around this location with Indian-made jewelry, all types of souvenirs for sale. From there, we head on toward Flagstaff. Next video